Okay, well, welcome to Sewtopia and Friends. So, this is the third
Third.
episode
Mhm.
of Sewtopia and Friends. And so today we have Melody Miller, and Megan's gonna read. Megan, so really quick, we had this crazy idea why we're in this weird pandemic to do checking in with friends in the industry. So checking in with, so we've checked in with a shop owner, we've checked in with a designer, a couple designers, and so Melody was so nice to accept the invitation, and so we just want to check in on this lighthearted kind of situation. So just more entertainment. And so my name is Amy Newbold. I'm the owner of Sewtopia. We have Megan Callahan. She's our creative director, and she's like my Andy Richter to Conan O'Brien. Or we were trying to come up with different.
We have a new one though that I think is pretty. I think the Bert to your Ernie is definitely a good representation as well.
Exactly. She's my
Yeah.
Bert, and
Yeah.
I'm her Ernie. I don't have a rubber ducky. And I'll have Megan do a quick intro of Melody.
All right. So we're here today with Melody Miller, a goal-setting go-getter who is one of the founding members of the Ruby Star Society. With roots in industrial design, Melody has put out countless fabric lines, published a book, and is the creative director of a powerhouse fabric brand with some badass ladies.
Exactly.
Hello.
I know. I think we should get I think we need some sound effects,
Oh, I totally have one of those little sound effect things.
Yeah, we should
Like
get
the kid ones.
An audience whoa.
Except they just come in here and use like the farting and burping sounds mostly. And then mom. Yeah, that's usually what it's used for.
So, Melody, one of our first questions is, what is your quarantine cocktail of choice?
A paper plane.
And
so yummy.
So I have never had a paper plane. So I had to get the ingredients to a paper plane. And I'm going to quickly mix my paper plane.
Your ice doesn't sound melted at all.
I know. It sounds totally melted. But do you know what the origins of a paper plane is?
My husband told me this morning. I forgot to research this, but it had to do with the MIA song. I had no idea. I thought
really?
that was a complete coincidence, but he said that's really where the name came from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
That is pretty good.
It's pretty yummy.
It's I'm opening new horizons. Kelly, I never had a Manhattan before, and we interviewed Kelly, and her drink of choice was a Manhattan. And so,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, this is opening my horizons to drinking. And also, how crappy Utah is for finding liquor.
I think you're going to need to use one of those little IKEA rolling carts and start your little bar. Because she's recording at the shop, so obviously she's going to have a fully stocked bar there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bar carts are really cute too. I feel like you could get a lot of mileage out of that in your shop.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. One more cutting. Just one more.
I know, you can tell she's totally sauced by the end of the cutting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll redo that one. It's cool.
Okay, so first question, Melody, and thanks again for being on the show. Tell us about your background and your family.
Oh, my background and my family?
Yeah, double hitter.
Got it. My background is in fine arts. I studied painting in college. I went to grad school for industrial design. After that, I spent years painting and learning graphic design. I worked in a real estate office and did real estate marketing for a number of years. And when my son was born, he was my second child, I decided I didn't want to go back to the real estate office. So I wanted to start figuring out my own path, which kind of was a long and winding road to fabric design. And my family, I have 2 kids. My daughter just turned 18 at the end of March. Wow. And my son is 12, turning 13 this summer. And my husband is a photographer, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow. So what made you it would be an interesting question, and this isn't on the list obviously, but what made you decide to go into fabric? Like, was there like a point, like?
So the first thing I chose to work on when I went out on my own was curtains. And I had this idea that I could design these really cool curtains, and they were going to be like white silk, and have like really cool graphics appliqued on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how to sew, but I thought, well, that's okay. I'll just find somebody to sew them for me. I'll make really good instructions. And so I did that, but there wasn't a big market for my curtains. I tried really hard. And eventually in that process, I learned to sew. One thing led to another, and I kept trying to find things that like more people would buy than these curtains I had designed.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, over time, I was sewing so much that I wanted to find something that maybe I could do small scale manufacturing for. So I landed on baby bedding and really started to look at fabric, like printed fabric, for the first time. And the fabric I fell in love with was all coca fabric.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful Japanese prints. Like, I don't know, I was so inspired by the fabrics I was seeing. And I had never really, before that time, known anything about printed fabrics. So I thought, I don't know what the rules are using somebody else's prints in my manufacturing. Like, am I allowed to do that? And I wasn't sure, because cocoa is Japanese. Like, I had a little trouble. I tried to reach out to them to find out, but I just had a little trouble getting information. And then I thought, well, to be safe, maybe I could just design my own. So I started putting together a portfolio of fabric designs. And then I found out, just probably through some blogs, I think I started following Kim Kite's blog, True Up, and whatever the fabric blogs were back then. I found out about Quilt Market, and I took my portfolio to Quilt Market in 2009 and shopped it around, and then got a collection, a contract with Coca, that was printed in 2010.
Wow. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Because I was always like, because I think, and it's funny because I always, like, I'm trying to think back to when we first met. And I think it was at a market for sure, but it was just probably like, because your coca booths were amazing, like, and so much work.
Back in 2012, did you go to Kansas City?
I don't know. No, I don't. Maybe.
Because I did, like, I only had a few coca booths. So it was like Kansas City and Houston.
I think it might have been Kansas, because at one point I was kind of like not going to the fall one because it was Houston, and I like the spring ones because they all moved around every place. But back then it was for folks that don't know what market is, it's like the designers they go to market. It's a big buying show for shops, and they see what the collections are for the next season, and then they can decide on what to buy. And I loved your coca booths. Like, I remember 2 of them, in fact. And I remember all the mid-century modern, like, all the mid-century modern, like, furniture, and how you turn your fabric into like those designs. And so that was super duper inspiring. And I was just like, wow, and so I think I met you there, but I don't think we really like talked until your book was out in 2013. Am I right?
I think that was 2012 for that too. Actually, I just remembered you did like a secret Santa swap one year, like maybe 2011, 2012.
Yeah, on Twitter.
Yes. I joined in, and you were my secret Santa partner. So like, I got Pyrex or something from you. Or maybe Fisher Price things, but I think it was Pyrex.
Yes. Yep. And it was so funny because I think that's where I met Kelly Faw from Dry Goods Designs. And she was like, I met you on Twitter. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to be on Twitter.
I know. I haven't been on Twitter since that long ago.
I know. So that was kind of crazy because it was Twitter, Flickr, blogs.
Yeah.
And now it's Instagram, maybe Facebook is in and out, right? Facebook is and then I would say Flickr, Instagram. Now it's Instagram, maybe TikTok.
Right.
Maybe TikTok.
TikTok's for the extroverts, though, I would say.
Oh, that's a really good point.
I mean, it's like the introverts will watch TikToks, but not create them.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're primarily on Instagram. So that's, So I think that's where, and that swap was big. Like, I think.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to like organize the swap. I'm always organizing something crazy, I feel like.
Those were all before my time, before I got back into sewing and realized what like modern fabric was, because obviously I was raising 2 babies at the time. And
what year did you come along?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I don't know. I kind of like, I think I took a risk one year and I decided to join the Portland Modern Quilt Guild, and I had been following some people like Jen Carlton Bailey and Elizabeth and everybody. And so I was just like, I'm going to take the risk and just like join. And I went to, my first meeting was actually when Market was happening in Portland. Not this last time, but the time before that. And so that was kind of like when I first started really getting back in, like
2013.
Yeah, so putting myself out there, but because I'm like, when were my girls born? Like 2009? Is that right? Yeah, they just turned 11. So it was, for the first 2-3 years there, it was just kind of managing twins and dealing that. But so that's kind of when I started getting to know people and, getting Instagram and just getting out there a little bit more. And then, I don't know, my first market was probably in like 2015. I'm like, I don't know.
I know the years are going like, it's so funny because I think like, and I was like, oh, Melody did the swap. Yes. And then we talked about your book, and then I helped organize, back then it was called a blog along, a sew along. What was it?
A blog
hop. Yes.
Blog hop. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had signed each person to do a project out of your Ruby Star wrapping book.
Right.
Yeah. I know. See?
That's so long ago. I barely remember
So long ago.
That's really generous of you.
Yeah. And then back then, it's kind of funny because now it's kind of morphed a little bit online. I feel like everybody's on Instagram and da. But I still feel like some of the people are promoting that way as well, where they're like, hey, sew along with us, let's be your cheerleader. So,
yeah.
So,
Except now it's just a lot more instant. I do think there's still, really religious bloggers out there, but it's definitely a dying breed at this point, because everything's so instant and visual. Or maybe even podcasts is another way that people are going, something to listen to in the background while they're working. But we're definitely like, how can we condense the most information into like the smallest little package is the way that we all seem to be going.
Yeah. So, and then I think we just kept in touch. And then, when you went from Coca, which I have a question, how was it? Like, explain to me how the pitch went with Coca. Like, because there's a language barrier, right? Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yes, the folks from Coca almost exclusively speak Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
They have a distributor in Los Angeles called Seven Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks speak English and Japanese, so they act as interpreter. So the whole time that I was with Coca, like if I sent an email, I would send it to Seven Islands and they would translate.
Wow.
And if Coca communicated with me, I would get a translation through Seven Islands. But it made for what felt like pretty indirect communication. Like I never got a lot of information. It was just kind of nuts and bolts for the years that I was with them.
Interesting. Because that's like, I would be like, you were with Coca for, do you remember how many years or how many seasons?
It was 6 collections. It was 3
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 2010 through 2013.
Yep. And then
7 collections. One of them.
I know. I know. I like literally texted Melly. I was like, wait, what time are we doing this? I was like, I can't remember anything past yesterday.
Yeah, it is asking a lot. I just realized a couple months ago that this is like a decade anniversary in this industry, which kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, it
Like,
totally, it blows
like
my mind too, because it's like we've been here 10 years, I think, like,
yeah.
and it's just insane how much has changed. Okay, so how are you doing with the current stay-at-home order?
I'm in my studio,
Mhm.
but I mean, mostly staying at home. I'm the only one in the studio, so it's, you know, another place where I'm by myself. I'm doing okay. It's nice to be able to go somewhere each day to do my work. That brings a lot of normalcy. At home, we have, in addition to my two kids, my daughter's best friend moved in with us in February. He just did not have the most stable living environment, and we were able to do some rearranging in our house and give him a bedroom. And
wow.
yeah, so little did we know that, you know, when we invited him in, everybody was busy, they all have jobs, they're coming and going all the time. And then suddenly we're just all in there together. And also my daughter's boyfriend has been sheltering in place with us. Like, he was at our house all the time anyway. So we were like, it's fine, like, you can be here. So we have 3 teenagers and a 12-year-old and my husband and me and our 2 puppies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and your 2 dogs, so it's like a Brady Bunch.
Yeah, it's actually been really nice. Like, I enjoy having everyone around. We are not all on top of each other all the time, which is nice. But it's kind of a good energy to have in the house. Like, kids just aren't so like bogged down with the weight of the world. Like, I just don't think they've got their own struggles through this for sure, but it's just a very different energy, and it kind of keeps things feeling a little more lighthearted.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
good. So what's
Sounds like a lot of groceries though.
It's a lot, like, a lot of groceries, and my husband does all the cooking.
oh,
And
good.
so, like, big meals, like, it's pretty serious. It's a lot of food.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. We only have like we have an adult son and my daughter and my husband.
Right.
So
There's only 4 in our house too, but I still feel like we're cooking huge meals. Like, my husband will be like, is this a 2-night meal? And I'd be like, I'd like it to be. And he's like, I mean, because I feel like my kids eat a ton, and then Nick eats a lot too. So it's just, you know, cooking all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
A lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning.
Yes.
Yes.
So many dishes, man. I mean,
So many dishes.
so many dishes.
Been having these like Sunday afternoon cleaning parties, which are not very fun, but it's really nice to like have everybody pitch in and clean the house. Like, with everybody in the house all the time, everything just gets messy.
Yes.
Like, it's just a lot.
I hear you. And we're retiling our house right now too. So we have construction going on as well, which is just like, my husband's doing it, but it's just like, you know, he can only do it in the evenings after work. And so it's slow. It's a very slow, it's a marathon, and it's a lot.
It is a lot. I think everything right now feels like a lot because it's all compounded with the pandemic. Like, it's just,
I know, it's like one thing after another, right? So it's just been, it's kind of funny because, like, for folks that are listening, we had a scheduled event with the Ruby Star group in April, the beginning of April, late March, beginning of April. And I swear to God, like, it felt like on a certain day, I want to say like mid-March, and it was a Thursday. I remember it so vividly because, like, the night before I was talking to Megan and I was like, we're still doing this, right? And Megan's like, yeah, we'll still do it with caution, you know? And then it's like Thursday hit and it was like all hell just broke loose. And we were like scheduling, we're like, we got to start thinking about canceling the event, or postponing the event is probably the best word for it. We're not going to cancel the event. But I remember calling you on Friday because I remember texting Kim Kite and I was like, Kim's like, are we still doing it? And I was like,
it changed overnight. It literally changed overnight. From like, let's do this. We're nervous, but let's do this. to nope, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So
that was crazy.
it was crazy. It's still crazy. And then I had so the week of the event, I was just grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
I was just stomping all over the place, and I was grumpy, and I was like, we're supposed to be in Vegas right now. We're supposed to be seeing Marie Osmond and Donny Osmond, or at least like hearing our attendees see the Osmonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a grumpy week. It was a grumpy week for sure, because we were, it didn't help that I forgot to take my flights off of our calendars. So, we got the reminder and she's like, you're supposed to be here right now. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. And it was like a constant reminder.
Like,
yeah.
Plus, I feel like that was when things first got super serious, at least here.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt even weirder, like to have gone from just 2 weeks before, like everything felt like no big deal.
Yeah.
To like the day that we were supposed to be on the flight just felt like a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody was used to any of this. It was just like, it was crazy.
It was crazy. And it still is crazy, because I was watching the news like all week, and I was watching especially once the Thursday hit, I was watching the news, and I was like, when you do an event that big, you have you're contracted, to bring in a certain revenue. And I was watching Las Vegas news all weekend, and they hadn't shut down schools, and then they hadn't shut down the strips, and they had weird rules for casinos. They're like, we're going to wipe down the slot machines every 2 hours. We're going to have only 3 people to a card table. And then come Sunday, I think Tuesday night it was, that they were like, okay, we're shutting down the strip.
Yeah. Well, it came down to Sewtopia postponed. We made the decision, okay, we have to postpone, but we were also then nervously waiting to see what Vegas was going to do, because contractually we're on the hook. And fortunately they were a little late to the party, but decided to, say, okay, maybe slot machines aren't that important right now.
Right.
I know.
It closed down the buffets right away, which is definitely, I would say probably one of my favorite things if and when I actually get to go to Vegas. I've never been there. It'll be my first time.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Something to look forward to still.
Definitely.
It will be something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question. This is very interesting.
Changing gears.
Changing gears a little bit. Can you tell us your design process? What programs you use to design your fabric?
Sure. I've kind of changed that up a little bit in the last year. I've started using Procreate a lot on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of drawing on my own time on weekends and evenings. It kind of started off last year as a 100-day challenge just for myself. I didn't want to post about it. I didn't want to be public with it, but I just wanted to give myself some room to get familiar with Procreate and just kind of learn a new skill, honestly. But that went so well. I enjoyed it so much. And I ended up with this abundance of imagery to put into my fabric collections. So I've been able to pull those straight into Photoshop and get them ready for our printers. So that's what I've been doing. Before that, I would just draw directly into Photoshop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so you use Photoshop, and Sarah uses Photoshop as well.
Yeah, she does.
I know. Yeah. It's I'm more familiar with, I have taken classes in Photoshop, but I'm more familiar with Illustrator. But I do understand how the painting aspect of Photoshop is much friendlier.
It is.
Yeah.
Illustrator is more clean and precise, and it's also designed it's more functional for creating patterns. It's a lot easier to do that in Illustrator than in Photoshop. But I just can't get over, to me, Photoshop is like drawing in a sketchbook, except with immediate access to edits and color changes. And I can just do so much so fast in Photoshop that if I were working on paper, would be a much slower process. Whereas Illustrator just doesn't have that immediacy to me. I've never gotten comfortable enough in it that it feels like second nature to me.
Yeah. I get it. I want to be fluent in all the programs. That's my goal, but it's definitely, they all have their own aspects.
Yeah, I have a little
Works.
checklist for work that I'm like in Evernote actually. And one of the things I put on my checklist a few weeks ago was like, get better at Illustrator. Like right now, like I feel like now is a time to like just catch up on some things or do something a little new or different. So that's one of the things that I put on my list.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it seems like a really good time to take like an online class or a Skillshare or something. Like I signed up for Sarah's Procreate classes because that's a program I want to learn. So I've downloaded those. So now I just need to take the time to do them and open up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded Skillshare for the first time a couple weeks ago and have been taking animating classes and I love it.
Oh,
So
that's
fun.
cool.
Mhm.
That's cool. I can't
Yeah.
wait. I think you've posted some of your animations, and I
Yeah,
love
I post them occasionally, and I've been doing a bunch for work, so they'll be popping up on our Ruby Star feed in the next few weeks, I think.
Oh, nice, nice.
And I'm trying to remember, I've made an animation like once, I think in Photoshop.
Well, actually, like once you get familiar with Procreate, they're really easy to do in Procreate.
Awesome.
Do like some little silly one. Yeah.
Create a monster.
Yes.
So this is also another, what fabric line surprised you in any way? From Coca to now.
Of my own or
Yeah, of your own.
huh.
I know.
I have to sift through I mean, like, do you know how many lines you've put out?
I've lost track.
Let's keep drinking. And then we'll remember more, I swear.
I think it would be like the first collection for each company. The first Coca collection, the first Cotton and Steel, and the first Ruby Star, because I didn't know what to expect in each of those circumstances. And I feel like all three of those collections were very well received in a way that kind of surprised me, or people liked prints that maybe I didn't think they would like so much. Like the one that I had in mind was different. Like the one I thought people would be excited about was not the one that people were excited about.
Is there a specific print that comes to your mind about like?
Well, yeah. So when I feel like even now the typewriter print I did for Coca was kind of an iconic print for me. And that wasn't the first collection, but it was shortly after. But in that collection, there was also a little alarm clock print.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, people are going to love these alarm clocks. They're going to be so excited. And the typewriter, I just never really thought much about. Like, I thought it was cool, but like nobody talks about those alarm clocks still. But like I still get messages asking for the typewriters, or I still see like ISOs, people looking for typewriters.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have some of the typewriters right over there. In fact.
Nice.
And I have some of the clocks. And you know what else? What other print that I really love is the mid-century modern little FM AM radio.
Transistors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in that first collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love those.
I like the alarm clocks too, but I think it's also, you have to remember how popular is an item. And in a person's daily life, an alarm clock is not a popular item. Even though a vintage one is very cute, but it's still a very hated item.
Yeah, you're right.
So maybe it just didn't have the winning hand initially because people are like, oh, it's time to wake up.
Yeah, I hate alarm clocks.
Right?
I mean, and I'm trying to remember in your first line in Ruby Star.
So that was like these little birds with these kind of rainbow designs behind them.
Yeah.
There was a telephone and a rainbow print. There were other birds that were just kind of like sketchy, little painted, hand-drawn kind of birds. There were ice cream cones. People really like the ice creams. Soft serve ice cream cones.
Yeah. And then your first collection with I'm trying to think. Yeah. I'm trying to think of all of your lines too, because I have been one of my favorite lines, and I think it was with Coca, was the Pyrex prints.
Yeah. I don't remember which one that was with, but
yeah. Yeah, and I really
These are a little before my sewing time, so
Yeah.
sometimes when I inherit a scrap here and there, I'm always like, oh yay.
I know.
I know, right?
And the fly.
Yeah, that bee.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah.
the fly or the bee? I can't
There was
remember.
a bee and a dragonfly. There was a bunch of bugs in that print.
Yeah.
That collection. That was my second one for Coca.
Yeah, and I love
Okay.
that one too. Okay, sorry.
No,
Fan growing over
No,
past.
no. Well, and the follow-up with that is, so in your fabric lines, you've brought back a lot of popular motifs. Do you have a favorite? See, it's like choosing your babies.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is
I
choosing your
have
baby.
kind of recycled. Like I've enjoyed bringing back the typewriter and the telephones. Those are probably my two favorite ones, like from the early days. I brought back the viewfinders one time. That was fun too.
I know. Can you imagine? Like, I was like, viewfinders was like, it also felt like an overnight thing. Like, viewfinders was like, all of a sudden it was like,
I think the picnic baskets is actually one of my, I really like that motif too.
Thank
yeah,
you.
as you're looking at your collection.
I'm like, yeah, I do like
Well,
anything kitchen related I'm down with.
back then I did a lot of like thrift shopping, and I went to a lot of estate sales. And so I felt like I had to put objects on fabric. Like that's sort of how I started. But I started running out of objects. Like you just can't keep up that pace.
Yeah.
Like year after year after year. So things have sort of evolved over time. But I think it would be hard to find new objects now.
Yeah, new old objects.
New old objects. Yeah.
Well, and now we're going to skip ahead in questions because I feel like this is a good segue.
Okay.
Now that we're talking about vintage, and I know we all have a mutual love of vintage items and mid-century items as well. So what is your unicorn vintage item that you are just dying to find?
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna go run and get my water while she thinks.
Okay.
That is a good one. Oh, I wish I'd had like a minute to think about this in advance. I could have probably like told you exactly, because I every once in a while something will come up and I'll be like, man, I wish I had one of those, or wish I could find that thing. But I can't, like I got a lot of my favorite things. Like I got a really cool typewriter back in the day, and I have like a rotary phone collection that I love.
We were looking at some of your older Instagrams and I was like, look at all those phones. Like they're fabulous.
Yeah, I still have those in my house. And those are, I mean, maybe just adding to those collections. Or like this weekend, I bought these cheap poster frames on Amazon and framed like a vintage feed sack and a vintage rice sack. And it was really like, I was kind of happy that I bought those when I did. Like I've gotten a few over the years, and yeah, just kind of keeping up little mini collections like that.
I think I was always jealous of your little people collection.
Oh, I love those. Yeah, I still have all those.
Like the Fisher Price little people?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I have a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have ours in my kids' playroom. They still have a playroom because we like to keep toys and sleeping separate. And there's a whole collection up there because I run a rummage sale at my old church every year to benefit a school in Haiti. And we just get a plethora of vintage items. And so I've gotten like all the Sesame Street stats to like, I have the school, I have the house, you know, like all of those. Some of them are from my childhood and then I've just added to them. So those are really fun.
They're really fun.
Yeah.
I've mentioned them. Like somebody gave me, after a quilt market, someone sent me the whole farm, like the farm animals. And I know, it was really amazing.
We have the farm. Does the door still moo when you open it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if you open the barn door, it kind of goes moo.
Actually, I gifted the farm a couple of years ago to a close friend who had maybe a 3-year-old at the time. Yeah, my kids had kind of outgrown it, and I thought somebody else could really enjoy it. But I did keep a lot of the people.
Yeah.
I didn't give all of those away.
I still want to get like the little sewing machine desk. I've always been on the lookout for that. There's like a vintage Fisher Price Little People sewing machine. And I was like, we definitely need that in our lives. And it's super 70s. It's cute.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll keep.
I know.
You're like,
Melody's
oh, thanks to eBay.
add to the list.
My vintage like unicorn items are always like dishware. I feel like I do have a little bit of a dishware obsession that I've inherited from my mother. We just have different aesthetics.
Yeah.
For sure.
I kind of a couple years ago, our house just felt like it was filling up a little bit. So I turned down the volume on collecting and honestly just got rid of a lot of things. So I haven't really, we since have moved and we have a little more space, but I haven't really gotten back in the mindset yet. But I feel like it's really fun to like, start picking up a few special things.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, you have to curate it. It has to be special or little.
Yes.
So in that realm as well, a follow-up question is, what is the one vintage item that got away?
Oh, yeah.
I know mine. Amy, you were there. Actually, when I
was I?
Considering we were at St. Louis Market.
Oh, yes.
And we went to that crazy museum that you could play in.
Where the whole building was like a playground and it was like all this metal and all this like all the slides.
Yeah.
Pictures of people.
It was bananas. It was a crazy thing. And then they had a little gift shop, and one of the things they had, because it used to be an old factory, was they had like original Twinkies trays, and it was a big huge Twinkies tray, and it was like steel or it wasn't cast iron, it was metal, and it was like $100, and that just seemed like a lot of money for me at the time. And I was like, how would I get this back home? And I was like, I'm gonna pass. But now I'm just like, like I so want that up on my wall. I have the perfect spot for it. So that's the item that got away from me. But I don't know how I would have gotten it home. It's not like you can just carry a giant Twinkie
steel
tray, and stick it up in the overhead.
because I think they use those for the molds.
Yeah, they would like bake it in there. It was a big baking tray. They had a couple of the cupcake ones as well, but the Twinkie one was definitely like the one I was eyeing. And it would be such a cute little display piece. Like you could even put little things in there, and that's my one that got away. Yeah. Don't want to talk about it. I don't know. So what about you guys? Do you have an item that got away?
Go ahead, Melody, if you know, because I'm trying to think about, because usually I buy what I
know, same. I feel like when things have really captivated my interest, like I've usually gotten them unless they were like outrageously priced or something.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'll get into little obsessions. Like I'll get obsessed with something. Like I'll see something online and I'll get super duper obsessed. Like for a minute I was obsessed with like those featherweight sewing machines, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I gotta get one, but they're and then the obsession would leave.
Yeah.
And then so for a while I was obsessed with like little RV, like mid-century modern little RVs, like that you can tow. And I was like, oh, we could totally gut one and make it nice. And then I was like, oh, it's too much work.
Right. That's a project.
Well, and you were just looking at vintage bikes too recently.
I was so I'll get into like these like moments of like obsession, and then I'll move on. But I've never like pulled the trigger on.
I don't think I ever liked very fancy or expensive or large items. Like it was just little silly things that I liked.
Yeah.
So I can't think of like the one that got away, because most things I would like, if it was some amazing piece of furniture or some crazy rug, or like I never even thought I could have it anyway. It didn't get away. It just wasn't possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to have no regrets. I'm jealous of you guys with your
Thanks. Okay, so we talked about your quarantine drink, but let's talk about,
well, now we have to move back up. So we wanted to know, what are you currently obsessed with? Anything? Is there anything that you're just like really into right now?
I think animation has been my latest obsession. I like it because you have to focus so much that you can't have anxiety and worry about stuff and successfully do an animation project.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so absorbing that it's kind of a relief from everything else.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's not so, I'm not so good at it that it's second nature and I can just like breeze through. Like I have to really pay attention to what I'm doing. So I love like that kind of the beginning part of learning something where you know enough to do it. You're not just frustrated that you can't do it, but you're not so good at it that it's just second nature. So I'm in that kind of magical place where it's hard and it's engrossing and it's challenging and I love it.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Okay. So I was going to ask what your comfort food is.
Lately, it's been like very carby. Like my husband made baked pasta last night, like with this like meat sauce and real cheesy, like a casserole. It was amazing. Like a lasagna with different shaped noodles. That's not my usual thing, but I feel like this is just a time when like any moment of comfort is such a relief.
Mine would be fries and ice cream.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mine would be fries and ice cream. Megan?
I am really missing French fries right now. It's like I haven't been in my car in about a month. I've been definitely home and we are not getting takeout because I have to be a little bit more careful with this because I did have an infection in my lungs that compromises me. So I'm like craving all of the Asian food, and French fries are like really big. So like sushi would be nice, but we could probably like try to make that at home. Like that's something that we could probably.
Yeah, French fries are hard to pull off.
French fries, yeah. I mean, and I will say my husband did buy frozen French fries, so we're gonna have crinkle cut French fries tonight because it's like at least it's meeting some sort of need. But I do feel like the potato has been a featured item on our menus lately.
Yes,
it's the popular kid at our house.
It is the popular kid. And I like when I went grocery shopping, I bought like a crap ton of ice cream too. I was like, bag of fries, ice cream, we're done.
The kids and Nick have been having ice cream sundaes a lot. Alas, lactose intolerance.
When my daughter's friend moved in, he's really into cooking and was in the culinary program in his high school. So he came with like all of these baking items and a deep fryer.
Nice.
And we were like, well, we've never had one of these before. And they're amazing. Like we had fish tacos. And we did make French fries one time and they were so good, but like I think it was sort of an afterthought and there were only like 2 potatoes in the house. So it was just like a few for each person. So we haven't really gone crazy. I think it's so smelly.
Yes.
To me, that's like I'm very sensitive to smells, and some things are smelly enough that I'm like, even the joy of eating them does not outweigh like
having your whole house smell like oil.
Smell like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've relocated it to our outdoor grill area.
Nice.
So it's outside now. But anyway, we just like thank God we're not deep frying left and right, but I guess we could make our own French fries at some point.
So I would challenge you guys, since you have a deep fryer, to make corn dogs.
I think I did not eat them, but I think we have made corn dogs. Yeah.
Corn dogs is good.
We've had deep fried Oreos.
Ooh.
We've had fried chicken, like chicken nuggets, chicken fingers. Yeah, we've had all kind of yummy things.
Nice. Okay, so this is a funny question too. Because we've seen, it's funny because we see the trends, right, on Insta. So my question to you is, have you made bread?
I am not a big baker, but last night I put in a request to my husband because of all the banana bread chatter lately. I was like, that sounds so good. So my husband made banana bread last night.
Oh, he's a great guy.
That's going to pop up on our menu this week because once it gets warmer here in California, the bananas go pretty quickly. So banana bread seems to be like kind of a weekly or every other week type menu item.
Yeah.
And my friends usually benefit as well. And since we're social distancing, maybe I'll hop on my bike and kind of like pull up to their house and throw a loaf at them and then ride off.
Like football style, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're practicing their catching.
Good.
It works.
Someone would come and throw a banana bread at me.
Right. That's true love.
What non-essential service are you going to run to when your stay-at-home order is lifted? And I didn't really go into this. What's Alana's stay-at-home order like?
I think it's like we're all, things are closed, bars and restaurants, kind of like everywhere else. But I think that it's sort of considered a voluntary order. Like, I don't think people can call the police on you if you're out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all meant to stay away from each other. And from what I see, people are doing a pretty good job. But I think that there's like some component of it that's like, I don't know, quote unquote voluntary.
Okay. So what non-essential service would you run home? Would you run to once it's lifted?
I'll probably go get my hair done. Get my roots growing out right now.
By the time, if this goes until May, then that will definitely be, I have an appointment in May, so hopefully, because the grays come out. Yeah.
I've had like multiple people just kind of casually asking like, so like, how are you getting your hair? Like, I have roots that are very visible right now. So like, I can tell that like people see me and it's like one of the first things that comes to mind is like, oh, what are you going to do about that?
I know.
But they can also gauge that you're also like, oh, you're totally respecting the stay-at-home order. I see, Right. I know. I think Amy and I both agreed that we would probably run and go get our eyebrows done too. Like that's.
I've never gotten my eyebrows done. Tell me about that.
Oh,
that's like what do they do?
It depends on where you go. Like I go and get mine waxed.
Yeah,
and that works for me. And they just take all the littles and make and shape them, and then I just try to follow the lines that they create. But as you get closer to 40, I've discovered that your eyebrows really like to thin out. And so for me, I've been trying to kind of grow them back.
Right.
They just like to grow in places that they're not invited to grow sometimes.
Yeah. So I've gotten my own hair trimmer. So I've been shaving my sides.
Nice.
Or at least my husband has. Me and my husband almost have the same haircut. Almost. But like, so I'll shave his head and he'll shave mine. But then I'm like, I'm really missing my hairstylist. I'm really missing my eyebrow waxing appointments. And I would think the third thing would be like pedicure, manicure is what I'm missing.
I don't know why I don't do any of those things. But I haven't gotten so much into the other ones.
Hey, it saves you money. But I wouldn't mind a pedicure.
Like, I don't know what, like, maybe I need to start doing those things when we can go back out into the world.
Yeah, treat yourself.
I know, right?
Yeah, and treat yourself, and then you'll be like, what was all the hype about? This is so weird.
What is eyebrow threading?
Oh, I've never done eyebrow threading.
I have friends who do that, and that's like, so they take the thread and twist it several times, and they kind of like, they use the thread and it captures your hairs and like twist them out. For me, it looks a little painful and a little involved because I know that you have to kind of like hold your skin taut or, and for me, that's a little bit too involved. I'd rather
just another way of hair removal.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Which I believe has traditional roots in India, but, is kind of like a hair removal method that was popularized there. But definitely a way to use the materials at hand for sure. But
yes,
it definitely looks like a skill that I wouldn't want to try on myself because I could see disastrous results.
What I imagined was somehow like eyebrows being woven into your eyebrows, which did not seem very feasible. So I have not trusted that impression of what that is.
No.
But that was I was like, maybe you can kind of like fill in your eyebrows through this process.
No, it's definitely a hair removal, but they'll do they'll do face as well, but it definitely, it's a pokey one. Like, I don't know, waxing's more like rip the Band-Aid off versus threading's a little bit more, I think, drawn out, but people swear by their methods, and obviously everybody's skin reacts differently to hair removal methods.
Right.
Mostly by complaining. We're meant to be hairy, apparently. All
Okay,
right,
Megan. Totally skipped around. I totally skipped around.
I know where we're at now, though.
Okay.
So, Melody, what is your secret jam that you have, but you don't want to admit to? Your secret song.
Oh, it would probably be like an Eminem song.
Which one?
That's cool.
One. Like, what was the one from like years ago that was kind of like inspirational and like anthem like
the 8 Mile one?
Maybe.
I'm terrible about remembering the titles of songs.
So now I'm kind of like intrigued that Melody Miller would be like into rap. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What other rappers do you like?
You know, I feel so on the spot when asked about music because my mind just goes blank.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, can I like look at my phone real quick? Like,
yeah, look at your phone really quick.
Like,
look at what you're. I was
and ASAP Rocky and who else do I like? Run the Jewels and I like a lot of like old school like Tribe Called Quest. Yeah. But like Eminem there were like 2 or 3 Eminem songs that I will pull out if I'm really trying to pump myself up for something. Like it, and also is kind of like a guilty pleasure. Like I don't want to listen to them in the company of anyone else.
Yeah, it's definitely a secret song. I like Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back." Personally, is a nice secret song.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, I am bringing sexy back. You know, it's yeah, that's one of my secret jams. Not so secret now.
Yeah, mine would probably be Miley Cyrus. Party in
the USA. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that I don't fully would be like admit to, but I will jam it if I hear it. I will be like, it's time for that. I know. Okay, so are you binge watching anything?
Wow, like weird. Like I'm blushing talking about all these things.
Your secret shows.
I'm watching Outlander right now.
You're watching Outlander right now?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that.
It's really fun. It also feels like kind of like weirdly shameful, and I don't know why. Like
I call those candy bar shows where they're like maybe not so much nutritional value as much as like just super satisfying though. Like
so
delicious.
So satisfying, so fun to watch. I actually don't watch I am terrible at watching TV. Like I'm not good at watching shows. It's kind of one of my constant goals is to like watch some shows because I feel like I could stand to like chill a little bit more than I do. But I'm not the best at it. But it's helpful if my husband and I watch something together because he'll kind of motivate me to like keep watching it. So like he's watching Outlander with me, which is really fun.
Oh, that's cool.
I love it when Nick and I can find shows that we can watch together because we never have time to do that, or I can't sit there and just watch something. I have to be working on something with my hands. So it's like that's where the piecing or knitting or something comes in. Because it's hard to just sit. I know I'm catching up on Survivor right now because I don't have cable. So I'm catching up on the most recent season.
And when I'm cutting, I'm watching Medium. Yeah, and that's just like a show I don't even know what year. And she's a psychic and she solves crimes with her psychic dreams. So yeah.
I'm finishing up Third Rock. I should probably finish it. Third Rock from the Sun I should finish up this week.
Right.
Which is just I love the old shows from the like late 90s, early 2000s, just very kind of physical comedy. Silly, not really about anything in particular, which is nice.
Yeah. I feel like it helps if you're a knitter or if you have something to do with your hands. Like I have not taken up knitting. So I don't have that like perfect project to do while I'm watching TV, which is probably why I don't like watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wish I could have just like one more thing going on.
Yeah, and I just picked knitting back up. Like, this is my first project. I started it in February, and it's still working on it slowly. I know, right? Oh, yeah, look. Someone made that for me, actually. A Sewtopia swap, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another fun question. We play we're trying to be like kind of, PG-13, but shag, marry, kill. Okay. Melody's like, wait, what? What do you mean? Shag, marry, kill. Cookie, cake, or pie?
So you have to kill one, you have to shag one, but you
And
have to marry one.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cookie, cake, or pie?
So who would you kill? That's probably the easiest.
Okay, so of the three, I guess cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
There's
We
no
agree.
wrong answer. This is just this is kind of a getting to know you question.
Yeah.
Cake is like my least favorite of those items, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you kill cake. Now, who would you marry? Cookie or pie?
I guess a cookie if it's a really good cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a really good cookie kind of outweighs many, many other desserts.
Interesting.
But there are plenty of cookies that aren't that good.
Yeah.
You know.
But the thing is you don't necessarily have to marry one cookie. You could marry all cookies in that sense. So you can still, have chocolate chip one night and peanut butter the next.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Amy and I are both in the agreement that pie would be our spouse for life because you can both have sweet and savory pies.
Oh, okay. With that logic, I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yes.
But I think we're both at the same. We would kill cake.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like cake, but it's very
it.
fussy. It's very fussy.
Mm-hmm.
Cake is a lot less forgiving.
I also feel like there's more like kind of average to bad cakes, like in life.
Yes.
Than many other desserts. Like
yeah,
cakes are amazing, but like there's so many just okay ones or not so good ones.
Yeah.
I'm picky about I will turn down a store-bought cookie every day. I would much rather have like a homemade dessert. So it's kind of like bargaining with my calories for the day. It's like, do I really want to like waste it on an Oreo? I know it's America's favorite cookie, but maybe I'd much rather like just make something else.
Right.
Okay, so, and I think this is our last question. What we did, and I don't know if you watch, there's a popular YouTube show. It's called Hot Ones, and they do a thing where they dive into the person's Instagram and they pull a picture up and they say, hey, explain that gram. So we pulled we dived into your Instagram, Melody, and we pulled up a couple. This was the first one for sure. So please explain this gram.
Okay, well, that's almost inexplicable, but I said Wattslot made you something. So, and I'm also looking at the surface that it's on. I think I must have been at Sarah Watt's studio and saw something really silly and took a picture of it. Like, so I think Sarah would have to fully explain that silly little pig.
Okay, because we were like, did you make that whole pig? Did you craft it?
I did not. I think Sarah must have. But I'm glad I put a comment there because I would not have known.
I do like that someone said that those reminded them of the marionette dolls from Sound of Music with the goats with the little blinking.
Right.
Yeah. That was a very, and then even Rashida's putting the actual sounds in there, which I can literally hear the voice in my head saying that.
You went way back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We dived.
That's 2013.
We dived. And I think Megan, do you have another one?
I will I think you emailed it to me. So stand by.
I know.
You're
I like that we're surprising you. You're just kind of like, this is not a typical, I don't know what a typical would be, but you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
also,
I was definitely, yeah, there was no ahead of time prep for these questions.
no,
Mm-mm.
no.
No, we
But I'm so glad you agreed. It's supposed to be lighthearted, and we're owning the lightheartedness for sure. And this is a picture that I found that I wanted you to explain, because I was just like, I'm super fast. Like, I'm getting into a lot of video as well. Oh, wait. Oh, this one. Yes.
Oh
mhm.
my gosh, that's the Kansas City Quilt Market booth. That was my first Coca Quilt Market booth. And I went crazy. I mean,
You,
look at all that stuff.
yeah.
I mean, you brought a whole like sideboard in there.
Yeah, there's a sideboard, there's a sofa,
Yep.
there's a record player. Like all of those, like the record player, we drove like an hour outside of Atlanta to buy this from this guy who had like his whole garage was set up like a 1950s kitchen, like
Oh my gosh.
perfectly like a set. And then out of that kitchen, he repaired old record players. So each of those, I like the sideboard I bought at an estate sale and I painted it all, and I put the typewriter fabric is on the back panel of it.
Huh?
Like I covered, I was crazy.
I know. Can you, like,
Insane.
did
What was
you
that?
drive there?
I hired a guy to drive all my stuff.
Oh, wow.
There's like a hat box covered in fabric, a lampshade. I
Uh-huh.
was out of my mind. Look at that. Like, suitcase. I like covered a suitcase with. I
Oh, with
just
that floral, right?
Uh-huh.
you see the tiny ironing board in the background.
Yes.
Like this old kid ironing board. I covered that. Like I made a new cover for it. It has the little tiny iron still sitting there.
And then, did you do the couch yourself?
No, I took it. So back then, I had this idea that if I was willing to invest in all of this, that like something really awesome would come of it. So I basically put all of the money I made doing Coca fabric into these displays. So I took that sofa to an upholstery shop. Like I bought it like on Craigslist or something and took it to an upholstery shop and got it upholstered.
And that's expensive. Like to get like old
Yeah.
school upholstery done. It's expensive.
Do you still have that couch?
I just got rid of it like less than in the last 6 months maybe.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of just ran out of places to put it. It was like smushed in a back corner of the studio. It was just kind of time for it to go. But
And do you still have the hutch?
I just got rid of that. When we transitioned over to Ruby Star, I got rid of some things. Yeah, I mean, the record player I had until it fell off the moving truck when we moved
Oh.
half ago.
I'm gonna let my dog out real quick. Be right back.
Yeah, and then I see that, like, I see the typewriter fabric that was covered in the back in the hutch.
Yeah.
See the Pyrex. See, I just remember one.
Pyrex I brought. I was out of my mind.
I know, because now you're like, it's funny because one of the questions Lizzie asked was like, knowing what you know now, what would you have changed
About that or just
about anything in general, or about that, like, right, your booths were, it was so elaborate, like you can tell by this picture, like you made everything was down to the detail, like, you know what I mean, like you lampshade, the suitcases,
I even sewed those ugly ass curtains that were on the back of the booth.
You did?
Yeah. I brought those with me.
Wow.
It was really hard to do. They're this like really weird fabric that was like the loosest weave ever and like slippery. It was like synthetic. It was terrible.
Yeah.
What I think, like, honestly, I wouldn't do that differently because I feel like that was me. That's how I learned.
Uh-huh.
Like starting with that. But now we have streamlined so much. Like I've learned how to do a very impactful display without going crazy like this. Like you don't have to like handcraft like 79 objects and like go out and buy all this stuff. Like we've gotten a lot I don't know if it's better, but I feel like you can have an impact with like without this level of effort. I think I would burn out if I had to do this twice a year, every year for my life.
Yeah.
But I am glad I did that though. Like I'm proud of me for doing that. It was a good job.
No, it's funny because it's like when we dive into like stuff like in the way, like
Yeah.
just like, oh wow, you're going down memory lane, and you're absolutely right. We've been in this industry for like 10 years, you know what I mean?
And how often do you scroll that far back in your Instagram too? And you're kind of like, man, where did my energy go? Like, where's that girl? I'd like her back.
Well, I had nothing else to do, but I mean, I had things in my personal life, but as far as a job, like this was all I did. So when this was like all my pent up energy from 6 months that I got to put into this one big moment.
Yeah. No, I
now,
love it.
thankfully, I have more going on.
No,
So,
I loved your booth.
Thank
I always
you.
thought it was brilliant that you had a couch in there too, because it was just like, can you stand for that long for that many days? No.
Right?
I know.
Yes, places to sit are nice.
I know.
It's already like a zoo, because I feel like people come to, it's always, quilt market is both cool, but it's also a little uncomfortable too, because I feel like, you're showcasing your fabrics, but at some point too, you're also showcasing yourself a little bit. So it's this kind of uncomfortableness at times when
Totally.
it just feels like a zoo. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's our show.